know why. Sometimes I just randomly sing like a old 70-year-old man. And it always makes me laugh a little bit on the inside, but nobody else laughs with me. And this is also really random. I was on the phone with my youngest today. I like to FaceTime whenever I'm talking to him instead of just talking on the phone. And when I called him, he immediately answered. And when he did, you know that face that you make that gives you like seven chins? He answered like that. And I just cackled out loud for no good reason. And it just made me happy that he's that goofy. He's a funny kid. He's funnier than I am. And both my children are better humans than I am. So I I count that as a victory. And I say all that because as careful and as patient and as clear a communicator as we can possibly be, there are moments that we miss it. No one's ever perfect. My oldest son, when he was a sophomore, came home one day from school and he's my one that got stressed out by things. And he came home because I guess at school, several of his friends had been talking about what they wanted to do when they grew up. And he looked at me with almost panic in his heart and in his eyes and said, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And inside, I'm laughing because chances are that 15-year-old that thinks knows what he wants to do when he grows up has no idea what he wants to do when he grows up. Like I can remember when I was in the eighth grade. When I was in the eighth grade, I legitimately thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. Really did. I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. And you could have not convinced me otherwise. And whenever I was a sophomore, I thought I was going to be an architect. And at every point, there have been things that I've been very certain that I'm going to do, and I didn't actually do. I'm sure when I was in second grade, I wanted to be a fireman. Who knows? I don't even remember. But there are moments where we're so confident of what we think we're going to be. And years later, we look back and we laugh at how confidently incorrect we were. But in the midst of his anxiety, I'm not going to laugh out loud at him. I'm just going to keep it inside and think, someday we're all going to laugh about this. And he said, all my friends think they know what they're going to do when they grow up. All my friends know what they're going to do when they grow up. They want to be lawyers or a baseball coach or a steamboat captain or they're going to own a hot dog on a stick in the mall. Like, I don't know what they thought they were going to do, but evidently all of his friends knew what they were going to do, and he was panicking because he didn't know. And he carried around that like a failure. So I told him, hey, instead of worrying about it, take a little bit of time and write down some of the things that you really enjoy doing. Start writing them down. Things you really like. They don't need to be careers. If it is you like English or you like cross country or you like reading or you like movies or you like Legos or whatever it is that you like, just start writing down some of those things and figure out kind of what are the 4 or 5 things that you really enjoy the most, and just let that be your list for now. And a year later, we had the next conversation, and I said, okay, let's look at your list of things that you really enjoy: movies and reading and ... fill in the blanks. And I said, here's what I want you to do. Go in your room, grab your laptop, Google some things, like put in those things that you enjoy, and start reading up on what kind of jobs you might have that have to do with those things. See what captures your attention. See what excites you. See what interests you. Maybe there's 2 of those things that you really like that can go together and can become a career, can become something that you want to do. But start with what you love and see what you can do with it. Start there. Okay. And that was his junior year. Now, as he's entering into his senior year, he still doesn't know. And of course, he's still worried about it, because we worry about everything when we're in high school. We worry about everything when we're seniors. We worry about everything at every point because it's all we know. And his senior year, I added one more thought. So he started with, what do you really enjoy? What are some jobs that you can do that are tied to these things that you really enjoy? Then I added another little piece on top of it. And I said, out of the things that you love doing, out of the jobs that you would enjoy, which of them takes the best care of you and your family? Never about money. Let's be real. Money is part of the equation in the things that we want to do, because you do want your family to be taken care of financially, but you also want to be taken care of as a human. But this sequence was very intentional. What do you love? What can you do with this thing that you love? And what takes the best care of you and your family in the future? And I felt like, man, I did it. I'm winning. I have figured everything out I should write a book. I didn't really think that, but I felt pretty good about it. And we had enough conversations over the years that I felt like I was pretty clear. And I felt like I reminded him enough times that the point isn't how you can make the most money in the fastest way. The point is, I want you to have a good life. I want you to be happy. I want you to be complete. I want you to enjoy the life that you live. Then he went off to college. Freshman year ends. He's home for the summer. And one day he comes in a little sheepish, more than a little sheepish. Said, Dad, I want to talk to you. Awesome, let's talk. And he tells me how much he really didn't enjoy it. And that he wasn't sure that he wanted to study. He wanted to change his major. Which, let's be real, the average college student changed their major 3 times. I was under no illusion that there was no demand from me that he finished that degree. What I wanted was I wanted him to get plugged in and make the right steps and discover what he wanted. And as he told me sheepishly, he told me something else that was the thing that stopped me in my tracks. He told me that he'd been wrestling with it for a while and that he'd been afraid to talk to me about it because he didn't want to disappoint me. That sucked. That's the part that got me. And it wasn't that he just was afraid he'd disappoint me. It's that it disappointed me that he was scared that he'd disappoint me. Because in my head and in my heart of hearts, I want to support him in everything. I'm his biggest fan. I joke with my kids whenever we're getting in the car, because there are mornings that they get in the car and we're going to school and I'm like, did you brush your teeth? Because I'm not sure. And we'll all giggle about it. But I tell them, it's like, hey, the person you want telling you that you have bad breath is your dad. Because no matter what, I will always love you and I will always like you and I will never dodge you. I'm the one that won't tease you. I'm the one that wants what's best for you. And all silliness aside, in that moment, when he told me that he was afraid that he was going to disappoint me because he wanted to change that decision, that was hard to hear, because I wanted to believe that in his heart of hearts, he knew that I would run through walls for him. And that this is not something that disappoints me. This is something that we just figure out. So here we are sitting in a room, and he's afraid that he's disappointed me. And I'm afraid that I've let him down. And it's just this difficult dance of figuring out what the next step is. And we talked about it. And he talked about that he felt the pressure to be successful. And that he felt the pressure because of everything that all the opportunities that he had to make the most out of them. And he felt the pressure of this and this and this and this. And in the midst of me trying to encourage him to do what he loved, what he heard was that I expected him to be successful, which is never what I said, at least not intentionally. And it's never what I wanted. What I wanted was his happiness. What I wanted was for him to enjoy his life. And that moment happens to the best parents. At least I tell myself that. That misunderstanding happens to the best parents. It happens to the worst parents. Happens to every parent in between, because in that moment, the breakdown wasn't necessarily in what I said. The breakdown was in me sharing and in him hearing, because there was no amount of perfect words that was going to break through that insecurity. And I'm going to say this little wrinkle that goes along with it. The same thing happens at work. I can communicate as clearly as I know how to, and there will still be gaps. There will still be misreads. There will still be misunderstandings. And it's not just parenting. It's work. It's friendships. It's dating. It's marriage. It's the guy who beeps his horn 0.2 seconds after the light turns green because he thinks that you aren't moving fast enough. And it's everywhere in between. And let's be real. I want to choke that guy. But here's the thing that I was trying to remind myself with my son. And it's a thing that I talked with a friend of mine who I've known for 25 years. 30 years. I've known him for 30 years. And we talked about this about 7 years ago. And it's this idea and this thought that time is the great equalizer. Here's what I mean by that. Friends that I've had for 25, 30 years, there's not much they can say that surprises me anymore. Misunderstandings are few and far between with people that you have that sort of extended relationship with. With those people, they can say it wrong. They can say it abruptly. They can say it messy. And I still won't know where their heart is. And even if I misunderstand them, it's easy. The correction is easy. The misunderstanding is much easier because of the history that you have together. And the thing that I have to rely on with my 19-year-old, the thing that I have to rely on with my 16-year-old, the thing that I have to rely on with my business partners, The thing that I have to rely on with the people around me is that as time passes, that time is the great equalizer that helps that communication. And that on some level, the sheer volume can say things that the most careful words could never say, because I already know their heart. Because I hope with every passing day, month, and year that my sons will understand more and more that their dad will run through walls for them, that their dad will always believe in them, that their dad will always support them, that their dad will always fight for them. But we will see the evidence. They will see the evidence. I will see the evidence of all of that when they're 35. And they will understand the depth of that better when they're 35. Because in that time, there is trust. I keep showing up the same. Now, here's the thing that I've got to learn. When things don't go well, when communication breaks down, I don't go quiet. I do the opposite. My way of loving someone in a hard moment, my way of communicating in a hard moment, is apparently to bury them in words. I know that you're all surprised by that as I sit here and I talk for 25 minutes all by myself on a camera. I bury them in their words and I try to talk my way into being understood. And the talking becomes the new thing that my kids have to wade through. My 16-year-old loves to remind me of that. And when I go to fix the misunderstanding, I make another one just by over-explaining the first one. So I've got another phrase that I used just a few minutes ago right here in this episode that I'm starting to fall in love with. And these are the words that I used with my 19-year-old when he told me that he wanted to change his major. Let's figure it out. Doesn't promise I'll get it right. Just means I'm staying in the room even if we're both wrong for a minute. It means that I'm here and I'm in it. And it's a phrase that I'm trying to say more and say out loud. And it's a phrase that I'm trying to say to the people that I actually care about. Because at the end of the day, we won't always understand each other. We won't always see eye to eye. We won't always agree. We'll always have misunderstandings and confusion. And we probably never will arrive at perfection. Not completely. That's being willing to work through it is the cost to stay close to someone. It is the cost. Having the scary conversations, having the difficult conversations, having the conversations where we've misunderstood, or having the conversations where we've been misunderstood is the cost of being close. So here are my two thoughts. Number one, time is the great equalizer. And the second one is let's figure it out. Let's fall back on those two thoughts and those two ideas in the midst of those conversations. Thanks for being here this week. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.